What I'd like to talk about is how to control a man once he's on the ground. And the first position that we're going to cover is cross chest position. There's some key points here that are always going to make your opponent carry your weight at all times. You want to make yourself as heavy as possible, and I'm going to show you how to do that. Second thing is, your opponent on his feet, whether he's striking, whether he's attempting a takedown, or when he's on the ground, gets all of his power from his hips. So you want to try to control his hips. Third thing is, you want to make sure that you can keep your hands free. This way you can enable yourself to get hooks or concession holds if need be. Also, whenever you're pinning a man, you want to make sure that your energy is going straight through him, not on an angle. Okay? Again, this is going to make yourself as heavy as humanly possible. I'm going to turn Bruce to the side, and I want you to see something. When he's laying here, what you need to do is you need to dissect the height of his chest to the ground and find the halfway point. That halfway point is the center of gravity. You must keep your hips below that center of gravity. In this position, the center of gravity is right here. If he were to start to bridge slightly, the center of gravity now is going way up. This means that you have to compensate by lowering your hips even more. You don't want to stay locked to this one position. By doing this, you're going to stick to him, and you're going to stick to him hard. Now, some people use the analogy of clinging to your opponent like a wet wash rag. I don't like to use that analogy because a wet wash rag is actually pretty gentle and pretty soft on your body. I like to say stick to him like a steamroller going over a pavement. You want to be hard, you want to be driving at all times. You don't want to be soft and gentle on this guy, okay? Later on, you're going to see other ways of using parts of your body, your elbows, your head, your fingers, to gouge and to make his life even more uncomfortable. So the principle here is, at all times, make your opponent carry your weight and make it as uncomfortable as possible. You want to keep your opponent in an unnatural position, whether it be just holding him down or going for a submission. You never want him to be in a comfortable, relaxed, natural state, because this way he can harness all of his energy, all of his strength to counter you. So we want to dissect that. We want to take them apart bit by bit. So I'm going to show you now the way that I pin. Pay attention to my hips. If I'm up high like this, I might be able to smother him, but he's really not feeling any kind of stress, okay? No matter where my hand is, it really doesn't much matter. I'm light, all my weight is here, going on my knees. What I want to do is I want to take my weight away, and I want to lower my hips. Now, another key point is my chest position to his chest position. Here, I'm establishing a 90-degree angle, okay? The optimum position of my chest, 30-degree angle, not a 45-degree angle like some people may think. I don't want to be here. I want to be right about here. This is going to make him carry more weight, and I'm going to show you. I don't know if we can hear Bruce, but how does that feel? All right. Now how does that feel? So as I lowered myself, there was more strain on him, okay? Now, my feet are very important. I want to make sure that I'm driving, but I don't want to be driving across my opponent. For example, I don't want to be going like this. I want to make sure that I am driving so that my hips are driving downward into the mat, and my chest is coming this way, straight down. So what we're having here is we're going to have an intersection, and we're going to intersect my energy straight here, right in the center of where his back is. This is going to stick him like a pig. He's not going to go anywhere unless I want him to. And that's the key to setting up submissions, because as I'm holding him down, there may become a time where I want to let up the energy just enough to make him move and become vulnerable for a submission. Show it from a different angle. Let's spin this way. Spin. Cool. Let's get back to here. Now watch what my hips are doing. My hips are driving as low as I possibly can. This is very important. I'm not up high. This is relieving all the pressure. This is giving him a canal to enter in either with his arm, or if he's a very good jiu-jitsu man, he's going to try to enter in with his legs and get me back into the scissor position, which is what I want to avoid at this point. I have a very good hold down. There's no point making it more inferior. Now, I'm going to show you something. Some guys are taught to block his hip. We're going to have to turn this way. To block his hip or his leg with your arm, which is fine. But what that does now, for the most part, it totally disengages anything that I can do as far as trying to get a submission on the guy. Instead, lowering my hips and attacking him as he's coming in on me with my hips. The same principles that we use on our feet, we want to use on the ground. Therefore, if Bruce was attempting to snake his leg in, instead of me blocking it with my arm, all I'm going to do is hip into him, just as if we were on our feet, like a sprawl. So if I hold him down and he's coming in, I'm going to hip in. I got that low driving pressure on him, and there's no way that he's going to get his leg in on me. If he tries something else, then I'm easily able to shift into a different position. So what I want people to understand now is to start using your whole body. There's an axiom or a maxim in catch wrestling, which is use his whole body as a target and use your whole body as a weapon. And that's what we're going to try to establish here. Okay, now I'd like to cover some finer details and some slight variations. I don't want to get too into the variations because it's infinite, okay? Every time you fight someone, I like to look at it like a pool game. Every time you shoot a game of pool, the balls are not going to line up exactly the same way. You're going to make shots that you probably have never made before in your life. They may look the same, but it's just off by a fraction of an inch. It's something different. So therefore, there's no point in me ever attempting to show you every possible variation because it's impossible. What you need to do, like in pool, is to understand the underlying principles, and then you're going to be able to improvise like a jazz musician would and suit the scene perfectly. Now, sometimes what I like to do is keep my arm underneath his head, okay, underneath the neck. It gives me some good control, and it can also end up setting up for some neck cranks and some arm bars. Key thing, whenever you're holding a man down, and even when you're attempting submissions, you want to have ultimate control and you want to take away the opponent's space. Okay, space is like a love-hate thing. When I'm the aggressor, having no space is a good thing. When I'm on the defense, most of the times I need space. Okay, so you have to know when to play with that. If I'm holding him down, what I want to make sure is there's space here between my bicep and his enormously large neck. I don't want that. I want to get it in nice and tight and as deep as possible. Also, if you remember earlier, I said I don't want him to be in a natural position. Right now, Bruce is in a pretty comfortable position. He's relaxed, actually. What I want to do is somehow start taking his head out of alignment. If I can take his head out of alignment like that, it's very unnatural for him. It's not going to be a comfortable thing, okay? I can do that quite easily by learning to transfer my energy from my hips to various body parts. So if I'm holding him tight and I got my weight off my knees, I'm right away going to try to trap the far arm. This is already putting his head unnatural, and it's making for a pretty tight hold here. All I would need to do at some point is maybe just shift my weight and start driving it here. Notice my hips. My hips didn't come up high. My hips are constantly readjusting to below that center of gravity thing. I'm going to turn to the side here, please. Able of lowering my hips. Now, if I were to keep my hips high, I want you to counter this. If I'm up here, it was very easy for him to roll me over. Once again, I'll do it correctly. Staying off my knees, I'm not here. All of a sudden, Bruce